Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, and freaks of nature of all ages. My name is Brian Bat Hippie Jackson, and welcome to my channel. And welcome to the first actual tutorial part of building Treasures of the Dead. Let's build Treasures of the Dead. So the first thing we want to do is figure out how to build a top-down camera and how to attach our flashlight and our little ambient point light to our character. Now, I tried to record this video earlier and I started with this default daylight scene, but I had problems with the lighting because the daylight scene comes with a dominant directional light, a skybox, and an exponential height fog, and I couldn't get the light set the way I wanted to because of that skybox and that exponential height fog. So we're going to start with a new level and we're going to go to blank map. Now in blank map it will automatically set your lighting to unlit because there is no light. So the first thing we're going to need is a floor. So we're going to grab our builder brush. We're going to right click on the cube in brushes and we want to set our floor thickness to 256. From 256 to 16 we want a 16 floor, and we're just going to go ahead and leave that right where it is. We don't need to reposition anything. We will need to change our kill Z, and I'll show you that in a minute because we're going to get warnings about the kill Z if we don't take it to a different height. It's by default set really low, and it'll give us a warning that the kill Z is at a weird location. So we'll deal with that in a little bit. Now for the X, the width or the depth of our floor, we're going to set that to, let's see, well, for building Treasures of the Dead, we know that our floor is going to be 30 builder block units by 30 builder block units. That's the way we've got the floor set in all of them. So we may as well just go ahead and build our default floor and outer wall setup while we're at it, so you can see how I did that and how I got my default setup going. So we're going to take the X and we're going to set it to 7680. I did do all the math and I've got this cheat sheet taped to my wall right in front of my face, so I don't have to do the math every time. I just look at my little chart that I made, and we're going to hit tab, and that's going to give our floor that 30 unit depth. And then we're going to go to Y and we're going to set it to 7680 as well. And that is going to give us, ooh, that's way too much. I did something wrong. 7680. Okay, there we go. And that gives us the size of our floor. Now we're going to go over to CSG add and we're going to click that, and that's going to put our floor in. Now for our outer walls, we're going to need them to be 7680 by 768. Now the reason we want the outer walls as 768, which is 3 builder block units wide, is so that when we start playing, the camera does not pick up all that empty space on the outside of the wall. You see the wall, you don't see that empty blackness on the outside of the wall. So we're going to leave the X set at 7680, and we're going to take the Y and make it 768. And then we're going to move that builder brush over here to the side, and we're going to line that up exactly even with that wall, and we need our height to go back to a 256. And we're going to zoom in. There we go. And we're going to right click on this little corner, and that will snap us to our grid, and we're going to put that right there. Now we are going to need to move this floor, so we're going to zoom in on it. We're going to right click on the top one. That's going to snap us to our grid, and then we're going to move it down, and now we've got our wall and our floor perfectly lined up. So now we're going to go back over to CSG add, and we're going to add that. Now if we look, actually let's just go ahead down to this one and hit unlit, and if we look, our build, if we hit our wireframe, we can see that our floor and our wall line up. If we hit lit, they're not lined up. That's because we have to rebuild our BSP or rebuild our geometry right there for that floor to actually change location. So we're going to do that real quick. Boom, yes, paths need to be rebuilt, but that's because I don't have any path nodes or player starts in. Alright, so we've got that set in. Now we're going to grab our red builder brush again and we're going to move it to the other side, and we're going to line it up with our floor. And this one, the floor is already in the right location, so we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and take that back to a wireframe. We're going to turn around and we're going to hit CSG build. So that gives us our second wall. Now we need to make our upper walls. Now we can either build them every time just like that, or we can build a wall and then tear off a copy and move that copy. So we're going to switch up our X and our Y. We're going to set our Y to 7680, and then we're going to set our X to 768, and that's going to give us what we need for our upper wall. So we're going to line that up right there, and then we're going to take it up to the top and we're going to line it up with our floor. And it needs to come over just a tad, and there we go, right there. Alright, so now what we're going to do is go ahead and hit CSG build again, and we've got that wall. Now we're going to set our builder brush to 7680 by 768 by 768, and we're going to be using that over here in these corners to fill in these corners. But before we do that, we're going to select this wall up here. We're going to hold Alt, and then we're just going to drag off a copy, and we're going to pull that down to the other side and get it lined up properly. There we go. Oops, that's just a little bit off. There, that's perfect. That's what we want. And then we're going to hit build geometry. So now we've got our floor and we've got all four walls set in, but what we need now is to fill in these corners, which is what we have this for. So we're going to put that in the proper location, get that lined up right, and let's see, where is it? Right there. Okay, so we've got that right there. Works just fine. And we're going to hit CSG build, and that we don't need our builder brush anymore, so we're just going to go ahead and set it back to the default 256, 256, 256, and we're going to move it out of the way. We're going to grab this block, we're going to hold Alt, and we're going to drag off a copy. And we're going to move it straight down to the other side and position it properly, and then we're going to build our BSP again so that that wall actually shows up. Boom, there it is. Now with that wall still selected, we're going to go up here, we're going to hold Control, and we're going to select this wall. Now that's going to leave both of those walls selected. So now instead of having to drag off a copy of this, move it over here, then drag off another copy and move it over here, we already know that these walls are at the right distance from each other, and we're going to hold Alt and drag off a copy of both of them at the same time, and it looks like they position themselves just right. Let's go ahead and close that, and we're going to go ahead and build our BSP. Now we've got our floors and our walls set in. So the next thing we need is a player start point. So let's go ahead and grab that corner, because our first level starts down in that corner, so we're just going to go ahead and start down in that corner. Now we're not going to be adding a directional light, and we're not going to be adding a any kind of height fog. We don't need those. We're going to go to unlit in this box, Actually, we can leave it as a wireframe. We're going to click on the floor right here, right click, add actor, player start, and that is going to give us our initial player start point. That's where we're going to start from. But if we play, everything's going to be pitch black. We're not going to be able to see anything because we don't have any lights, but that's okay, because what we're going to do is add in our flashlights and get our initial player startup kismet going. So we're going to need 3 objects in this. We're going to need a camera actor, we're going to need a movable spotlight, and we're going to need a movable point light. So we're going to click on our content browser, because if I right click on the floor and go to add actor, there is no camera, and we have a regular point light, not a movable point light. And there's no camera or movable point lights in this either. So we open up our content browser, we go to actor classes, we click on camera actor, and then we just click on the floor anywhere close to our player character and add camera actor here. Then we go down to lights, and we have all kinds of different lights. We want a movable spotlight, so we select spotlight movable, we click on the floor, add spotlight movable here, and that's going to screw our, we need to go to unlit, because once you add a light, it will automatically take you to lit mode. We don't want to be in lit mode yet. So we have the spotlight there. Then we're going to select point light movable, click on the floor, add point light movable here. And now we can close our content browser. So the first thing we're going to do is attach our camera to our actor so we can get our overhead view. Now, if we played right now, we wouldn't be able to do a whole hell of a lot, because by default, if we go to View, World Properties, we have no game type set. So we wouldn't have a HUD, we wouldn't have any sound, we won't have a weapon. We need to set our game type to tell UDK what kind of game we're building. So we're going to set that to UT Game, which is the default Unreal Tournament game. And we don't want a weapon yet, so we're going to go to No Default Inventory for Player, and we're going to hit that checkbox. We're also going to go ahead and set the kill Z to get rid of that warning, because the default kill Z is at negative 262,143. That is way too low. We're going to set that to a negative 2,000 to give a more appropriate height for the kill Z. And if we zoom this out, we'll notice that now the kill Z is much closer to the floor. It's not a big deal. It just gets rid of a warning. Okay, so to set our top-down camera, we're going to go into Kismet. We're going to right-click. We're going to create a new event, and that new event will be a player spawned. Now, the first thing we need to do with this player spawned event is it has a max trigger count of 1, which means that that will work one time and then it will destroy that trigger, that event trigger. So if we've got everything attached to the character, the first time we run it, it'll work right. But then if we die and respawn, that trigger won't work and none of our stuff will be attached. So we set that 1 from 1 to 0. 0 is default for infinity. Alright, so now that player spawned will always function and will always attach everything to the player that we need attached to the player. So we're going to need a variable for that camera. We're going to right click and create new object variable using camera actor 1. We're also going to need a variable for our player. Now there's a couple of ways to do this. You can right click, go to new variable, player, and it will give you a player variable, but that's not how we do things here. I mean, if that's the way you want to do it, then do it, but there's a shortcut you can use that makes life a little easier, so let's Control X and get rid of that. I'm going to hold the P key and then left click, and that will automatically create a player variable. Now we do need to alter this player variable just a little bit. Let's go ahead and grab that, line them up, select them both, and move them over a little to where they're going to be closer to where they need to be. We're going to select that all players variable, and we only want that to affect our player, so we're going to uncheck that all players variable. And now it is just player 0. So we need to attach our camera. We're going to right click, go to new action, go to actor, and attach to actor. So we run the player spawned out to the in to the attach to actor. Our attachment is going to be the camera. That's what we're attaching to the player. So we run attachment to the camera, and then what we're attaching the camera to is the player, so the player is the target. Now that will attach the actor to the camera. Now I did a lot of experimentation in Players of the Dead to get my camera where I want it to be, so I already know the numbers we need to tag in. So we're going to turn relative offset on and relative rotation on. For the Z, which is our height, and we covered height, width, and depth in when we were building our floors and walls. We know that Z is our height. We want the camera to be 750 above the player, and then we want our pitch to be negative 65 degrees. So that is going to attach that camera to the player at a height of 750 with a pitch of negative 65 degrees. Now we still have to do one more thing to make sure this functions properly. So we're going to right click, go to new action, go to camera, and then go to set camera target. This is going to ensure that that camera always looks at and follows the player. Okay, so we're going to take the out from attach to actor and run it to the in set camera target, so that we're basically chaining it. The player spawns, we attach the camera to the actor, and then we set the camera target. The camera target is our camera, and we're wanting it to follow the player. So the camera target's the camera, the target is the player. Now we need to attach these lights. So we're going to create another attach to actor, action, actor, attach to actor. Now since this one's blank and doesn't have anything in it, and I need to set things for the spotlight and the point light, instead of right clicking and doing that again, I'm going to hit Control C to copy that, and Control V. Come on, Control C, Control V, there we go. And we now have a second attached to actor for our spotlight. So we need two variables. We need one variable for the spotlight and one variable for the point light. So we're going to select our spotlight. We're going to right click, and we're going to create a new object variable using spotlight 1 movable. Now we're going to select our point light and do the same thing. And now we have our two light variables for our attachments. So we're going to run the cam target out, or the set camera target out, to the in on attach to actor. The target is of course the player, just like you did with the camera. The attachment is the spotlight. We're going to go from attach to actor out to there. Our attachment is the point light, our target is the character. So that's got both of those attached. Now I did the math on these too, so I know exactly where I need to put the relative offset and relative rotation for these. On the spotlight, we don't need any relative rotation, we just need relative offset. We want that to be about 10 in front of the character. And then with the spotlight selected in here, we're going to hit F4, and we need to change our inner and outer cone angle for the spotlight to work properly. So we're going to change our outer cone angle to 40, and we're going to change our inner cone angle to 20. And that will give us a good flashlight effect. For the point light, we're going to hit F4 and bring up its properties. The radius is way too big. We don't want it to be 1024. We're going to set that to 128. And that's going to bring our radius down. I'm not sure if we're going to have to adjust the brightness. We'll see. Okay, so in attach to actor for the spotlight, we've got our relative offset, our relative rotation, we leave that at 0. Our relative offset is 10 on the X. For the point light, which is just going to help define where our character is, it's going to give us a little bit of ambient light around our character. And the other thing it's going to do is, with the spotlight set just in front of the character, that's going to create some funky shadows on his back, and that point light is going to eliminate those funky shadows. And if we turn the flashlight off, which we will set a toggle for the flashlight, it's also going to allow us to still see our character in a dark environment. So we're going to turn relative offset and relative rotation on. We need the relative offset for the point light to be at -10 to put it just behind the character, and we need the height, the z-axis, to be at 10 to put it just above the character so it shines down on him. And there we go. Now the next thing we need to do, we're going to go ahead and hit lit mode here, and you can see that's pretty funky. We don't need that, is we need to rebuild our paths and our lighting. And so we're just going to go ahead and hit build all, and I'm going to pause this because it's going to take a couple of minutes. Okay, so we've got our lights built, and of course we get a warning that I didn't put a light mass volume in it. Oops, my gig. It takes longer to build the lighting without a light mass importance volume. We might go ahead and do that in this one, we might not. Actually, we probably will. And I know that the maps are not built with production lighting. So now we have our camera. If we look at our Kismet, we've got our player spawned, we've got our camera attached to our actor, we've got the camera target set so that it will always follow the actor, the player, we have our spotlight attached, and we have our point light attached. The only thing we still need to do, which is not going to require another lighting build, is we need to set that spotlight so that it will turn on and off like a regular flashlight. Now that's not something we have to do, but it's something I'm gonna do. So we're going to go to New Event, Input, Key Button Pressed. And this is something that will happen every time we press a specific key. So that key is going to be, we're going to go down into Sequence Event Input, Input Names, we're going to check on click the little green cross for Add New Item, and we're going to set the key button key to T for torch. Now we're going to right click, New Action, and we're going to go down to Toggle, and we're just going to select a regular toggle. The target for this toggle will be the spotlight, and so what this will do, we're just going to connect pressed to toggle. The light will automatically come on when the level starts, and then when we press the T key, we can turn our flashlight on and off. That's all that does. So now let's go ahead and hit play. And now we can see we've got, and actually I need to reduce the brightness of the point light. But we've got a flashlight that we can turn on and off. We've got a point light around our character to help us define where he is a little bit. And we've got our top-down camera. So let's go ahead, grab the point light, hit F4, go to brightness, and take that down to 0.5. We're going to have it. And we're going to go ahead and include a light mass importance volume because why the hell not? Let's go ahead and get rid of that warning. So we're going to take our builder brush. We're going to put it fairly close to the center. And this time we're not going to worry about tagging in numbers. We're just going to hit non-uniform scale. And we're going to scale it up a little bit so that we know it encompasses the whole level. Then we're going to scale it out this way so that we know it encompasses the whole level. And then we're going to scale it on the other axis so that we know it encompasses the entire level. And there we go. We've got our whole level surrounded by a light mass importance volume. Okay, and now that we've got that sized properly, we're going to go over to the left side and we're going to select Add Volume. We're going to left click on that and we're going to go up to Light Mass Importance Volume. And we're going to click on that. Now we're going to go back to our brushes, right click on the cube, and it's set to 256, 256, 256. We'll hit build, and that's going to take our builder brush back to its original size. And we can move that out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and rebuild our lighting. Alright, and now that is going to get rid of the warning that says that we don't have a light mass importance volume. We still haven't built with production lighting. I know that. It's okay. We're going to go ahead and hit play. There we go. That's much better. We probably still need to reduce the brightness of the point light because it is causing some funky shadow interaction with the spotlight. But still, that is the way we build and attach our lights. We can toggle our flashlight on and off and still see where our character is. The other thing with the shadows is in the Treasures of the Dead build that we're doing, I don't have it completely dark. There is a dominant directional light in there. It's just set at a very, very low rate so that there is a little bit of ambient light, because there's always ambient light in things. Unless you go really deep underground into caves that have absolutely nothing for light, you will always get a little bit of ambient light, and so I've set up our game levels to do that. But that is the basics of how to build the basic floor and wall layout, which we'll be using for every level, how to add a player start in, how to add a top-down camera, and how to add the flashlight and the light mass importance volume and toggle the flashlight. And there we go. Please do not forget to check the links in the description below for the Disabled American Veterans and the Wounded Warriors Project. Let's please help support our veterans. If you liked the video, then hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends and family to hit the like button, subscribe, and share. Please don't forget to leave me a comment. They're always welcome, good, bad, or somewhere in between. Thank you very much for watching. I greatly appreciate every single one of you. And until next time, this is Brian Bad Hippie Jackson saying peace, love, clean underwear, and happy gaming.